Welcome to my laboratory. I'm DrScreams, and today we're examining what happened to Killer Klowns from Outer Space Part 2. We've been hearing about Killer Klowns 2 since the original arrived in 1988. So what's the probability that we'll actually see it happen? Maybe. Killer Klowns from Outer Space 2 sounds like a slam dunk, home run, field goal kicked by an all-star athlete in their prime. More clowns, a visit to their homeworld, the return of Mike Tobacco, and it was all going to be in 3D. So why has it never happened? That's a good question. Will we ever see the likes of Slim, Rudy, Shorty, and Spiky ever again? Today we look at the Killer Klown sequel that never was but almost happened, and still very much could. So grab your cotton candy ray gun, load up on acid pie, and head with me into the cosmos as I go searching for more Killer Klowns. Hard to believe, but one of the most popular 80s movies never got a sequel, but not for a lack of trying. Killer Klowns is that rare cult movie that has only grown in popularity. It is far more well known today than it was upon its release in 1988. Like most horror movies of the time, a sequel was planned even before Killer Klowns arrived in theaters. Creators the Chiodo brothers immediately recognized its franchise potential. But the movie wasn't exactly a hit. It only invaded a handful of theaters to very little fanfare before landing on video store shelves, languishing there mostly unnoticed for years, except by cult movie fans who slowly passed the horror comedy on to their friends and family like words through 2 cups on a string. Across the span of 30 years, a grassroots fandom was born, with Killer Klowns lovers blossoming into a mushroom cloud of painted chaos. Cut to today. Killer Klowns are everywhere. Their merch has infiltrated stores like Spencer's Gifts and Spirit Halloween. Kids whisper about JoJo, Bebo, and Chubby on the playground. You can't go to a horror convention or Halloween haunt without these alien freakazoids staring right back at you. So, what happened? Why have we never seen a sequel? It's because Killer Klowns just weren't popular enough in the 80s to get their inevitable follow-up in a timely manner. This drive-in oddity has only grown and solidified over the years. Interest has climbed, and believe it or not, in 2018, a true Killer Klowns legacy sequel was announced, and then it quickly got canceled. Why didn't we see it? And what was it going to be about? All good questions. The end is only the beginning. Killer Klowns culminates in a big bang, then our heroes get hit in the face with pies, but that can't be the end of the story, right? Some 80s movies definitely should have stopped at 1. Killer Klowns isn't one of those. The original is ripe for spin-offs, prequels, and even a TV series. It has strong franchise potential. There's still so much to see and explore. The first Killer Klowns doesn't exactly end on a cliffhanger, but there are unanswered questions. We saw the circus tent spaceship explode like the Death Star, but did all the clowns go with it? Are these clowns the last of their kind? Is there a killer clown planet that has yet to be discovered? Almost all the human characters survived. What happened to them, and where are they today? Did Mike and Debbie stay together? Or were they torn apart by the psychological damage of dealing with these clowns? Did Debbie and Dave Hansen rekindle their relationship? What about the Terenzi brothers? Are they no longer with us and driving that big ice cream truck in the sky? Or did they become clown bounty hunters? Did Officer Mooney have any kids out there looking for revenge? Killer Klowns 2 definitely has a rich mythology laid out and a lot of world building left to do. So what do we really know about Killer Klowns 2? The title. The Killer Klowns sequel has a long-standing title announced years ago that still hasn't changed. Original director Steven Chiodo made it official when the follow-up was being planned for the Sci-Fi Channel. The title as it stands today is The Return of the Killer Klowns from Outer Space in 3D. Do you think they're gonna change that title? Maybe. There are 2 big takeaways from this. The Killer Klowns will return to Earth. That sounds like a no-brainer. The more important takeaway is that this new Killer Klowns movie will be in 3D, which actually doesn't seem like that big of a deal anymore. A lot of people complain about 3D. It gives me a headache. It makes me feel nauseous. 3D is not the hook Steven Chiodo may think it is, but it definitely could work for Killer Klowns. Adding in 3D to the title definitely gives it that old school B-movie drive-in circus vibe that this franchise is all about. It's why you love it, it's why you like it, it's why you thrive and strive for a VHS copy on eBay that keeps escaping your grasp. Now let's skip to new clowns. It's long been promised that there will be twice as many clowns this time around and we'll get to see all new alien designs. That's exciting and scary for fans. Let's hope they don't screw it up. The Chiodo brothers have been planning a sequel for years. The property just wouldn't feel right in anyone else's hands. Not Quentin Tarantino, nope, not Jordan Peele, definitely not David Gordon Green. These legendary puppeteers crafted the clowns from scratch, giving each a specific look and killer traits. If and when the sequel does happen, Charles Edward and Steven Chiodo will return to pen the screenplay with Steven back in the director's chair. It's safe to say fans don't want to see anyone else doing it. Steven Chiodo will unleash an all-new army of clowns that are built from the ground up. Perhaps some CGI will be used, but the original outing was a fully practical endeavor with over 20 discrete alien clowns being created for the 1988 release. The same thing is happening here, we think. For Killer Klowns 2, we don't know for sure. I mean, we don't have all the answers. Or do we? So expect all new clowns and expect all new clown merchandise because we know some of you kids out there, that's all you care about. Now what about the surviving clowns? All the clowns blew up in that big top explosion, right? Not so fast. It's been hinted by the Chiodo brothers that some of these clowns did survive. So which iconic clowns will we see again? Not Jumbo. He was obliterated into glitter when Officer Hansen shot him in the nose. Fatso suffered a similar fate, and his brother Chubby was last seen sucking on a cotton candy cocoon in the refrigerator room that went up in the big boom. But Shorty, Rudy and his brother Magori, Spiky, Slim, Bebo, Joe, and the other clowns who fled upon Clownzilla's arrival are believed to have all escaped the circus tent explosion, leaving them hiding in Crescent Cove for the past several decades. So what have they been doing this entire time? Do you remember the baby clowns? The main clowns aren't the only ones stranded in Crescent Cove. Existing killer clown mythology reveals the male aliens are essentially the maggots of outer space. They all began life as popcorn-like larvae developing into bitey, long-necked monsters who thrive on darkness and blood. They grow quick and attack in swarms. While we see Debbie blinding some of these baby clowns, none are dispatched on screen. We do see plenty of popcorn kernels planted in a dumpster and perhaps elsewhere around town. None of these baby clowns were in the tent when it exploded. We know that for a fact. They were all abandoned in Crescent Cove like E.T. the Extraterrestrial, only with a bad attitude. So what became of them? Perhaps only the sequel knows. Now, what about the human characters? A few plot details for Killer Klowns Part 2 have been revealed. Mike Tobacco will return in a story that picks up 30 years after the Killer Klowns infiltrated Crescent Cove. This time, the hungry aliens will invade the mountain town of Kismet, where two traveling circus performers are blamed for all the mayhem. That's where crazy hermit Mike Tobacco steps out of the shadows to save the world. Grant Kramer has long been confirmed to return as Mike, openly talking about the sequel at various horror conventions over the past few years. He won't be the main character, he's more of an Obi-Wan Kenobi type. He'll serve as a mentor to the two newcomers, teaching them how to survive the clown apocalypse with skills he developed during the original 1988 massacre. Will Mike Tobacco rescue us from impending clown doom? Let's hope so. The Chiodo brothers have big plans for continuing the adventures of these killer clowns. If the 3D sequel is a success, they want to bring back other surviving characters for more installments, giving each one of them their own movie, which means we could pick back up with Debbie Stone and Officer Hansen in Killer Klowns 3. If the series goes beyond a trilogy, perhaps we'll even see the return of Paul and Rich, the ice cream truck driving Terenzi brothers, and Killer Klowns 4. Is 4 Killer Klowns movies too much to ask for? Maybe. Killer Klowns the TV show? Before Sci-Fi announced its since-canceled legacy sequel, director Steven Chiodo wanted to make a Killer Klowns TV show. Netflix even entered talks with the Chiodo brothers to make this happen. It never did. The TV series was described as a requel, a hybrid of both a reboot and a sequel. Steven Chiodo called it a TV trilogy told in 4 parts, with the original movie serving as the first chapter. The director never guaranteed anything would ever come from this idea. He still has a ton of ideas on the table with many different directions to go. Mike, Debbie, and Officer Dave were all confirmed to return in various capacities in the proposed TV show. The entire series was even scripted out, with Steven calling it a fantastic concept. Yo, Netflix, we're still waiting. Now, it's not all bad news. Killer Klowns may not have a sequel or TV show yet, but they have returned in an all-new video game that allows players to plan their own clown invasion, slurping people through crazy straws while collecting cotton candy cocoons. If being a clown ain't your thing, you can also play along as one of the human survivors in a fight to save the world. The game is directly based on the original 80s horror classic, and it is described as a crazy take on the asymmetrical multiplayer horror experience. It's not exactly a new movie, but it may be as close as we're gonna get for a while. What about Halloween Horror Nights? Not into video games, or simply want to experience Killer Klowns live and in the flesh? These circus freaks have officially infiltrated Universal Studios several times, getting 2 haunted houses in the recent past. The clowns first showed up in their own maze back in 2019, scaring visitors inside a replica of their tent spaceship, which came complete with studio merchandise and several snack options like a giant hot dog and acid pie milkshake. They returned in 2022 for an all-new haunt, allowing fans to once again interact with these terrifying clowns. If you want to see me eat a giant hot dog, click over here. Have we seen the last of the Killer Klowns at Universal? Nothing has been confirmed, but we have a sneaking suspicion they may return sometime in the near future. Merchandise overload! It's a merchandise overload! In the past couple of years, we have been hit by a tsunami of Killer Klowns merchandise. Spirit Halloween gave us the cotton candy ray gun, acid pie props, life-size animatronics, Funko Pop figures, Halloween costumes, t-shirts, statues, snow globes, hand puppets, you name it. If you can slap the name Killer Klowns on it, it exists. Now this is the real reason Killer Klowns from Outer Space Part 2 has never happened. Many legal issues and financial difficulties have been the biggest hurdles in getting the movie made. Many deals have been put into place only to later fall apart. It was officially announced in October 2018 that Killer Klowns 2 would become a Sci-Fi Channel original alongside a new Critters sequel. The 2 movies would have spearheaded Sci-Fi's new business model of rebooting horror classics for a younger generation who frankly did not care about these titles. Critters came and went without much fanfare and was considered a bomb for the basic cable network. Killer Klowns 2 never even went into production. Sci-Fi wanted to make the reboot for just $2 million. The Chiodos scoffed at that idea. That's exactly how much they spent making the first one 30 years earlier. Steven Chiodo believed a much bigger budget was needed to pull this off right. MGM eventually agreed, deciding that the property was much more valuable than a cheapy sci-fi movie toss-off. The whole thing was canceled, and fans have been waiting with bated breath ever since to find out what happens next. So what is happening next? The conversation surrounding a potential Killer Klowns sequel has never died down, and the property is more popular than ever. The Chiodo brothers are even open to working with other filmmakers and artists to revive this dormant franchise in the waiting. But not this guy. Definitely not this guy. Will the sequel happen? Never say never is DrScreams' motto. Steven Chiodo believes there is room for a new vision and new direction, that these characters can be taken to a whole new level while honoring the past. Killer Klowns still resonates with audiences. In all likelihood, we will see a new movie sometime in the future. There is nothing official in the works yet. Not yet, so don't get too excited. In the end, it all comes down to box office. The original made nothing in ticket sales when it hit the big screen back in 1988. Despite its ever-surging popularity, Steven Chiodo has noted that studios don't regard cult films as something to invest in. Now that's it for us today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to pie that like button in the face and subscribe. Until the next time, we'll be riding our tricycles around in a circle, thirsting for blood slurpees while we anxiously await the first Killer Klowns 2 trailer. It's definitely coming before the year 2030. We can feel it. Goodbye.